Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless it's like it's a flat earth nation and the golden age is past. That's cool. But otherwise, we're never going to let them tell us anything unless they're willing to debate us using the 66 books of the Bible. There's the qualifier. Right. You might have an argument if you can use the book of Giants and Adam and Eve. The famous Randy from Wisconsin will explain it all to you. Go ahead, RJ. Welcome. Thanks for showing up, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just sat down and I see you had a show coming up, so I thought,
Very
hang out.
much spirit led, providential that you're here. Going to talk the people down. We're going to cover everything tonight that's necessary from that person in 2013 that almost drowned while he was repairing the International Space Station. all the way, yeah, we got that video all queued up, man. And all the way up into, oh my gosh. Well, I'll just show you the first one. That Truth Stream Media, they're coming through. So, people watching, but they're not commenting yet. We'll check back with them later. We got the salt of the earth here checking us out, going to make sure we don't mess up. So look at this. I did a screenshot of this, but I have it here. So it's these guys, Truth Stream Media. I think it's Josh and Julie or something like that. But look, New Reformed Orthodox Order of the Golden Dawn. That's the Rosicrucians. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was just killing some time watching this video before 9:15 when I could start, that's into mountain time, just pop this right up here. He didn't even mention the Order of the Golden Dawn, Rosicrucians, or did he?
Sacred woods, and it is in essence. I found it in actually online dictionaries more than old dictionaries, even though I think it's a very old concept that a nematone is a sacred wood. It's pretty much literally a holy wood.
Kind of like a holy wood, like a Hollywood. Did you know that the groves of the Academy, do you know that they're called the Academy because they met in a grove of trees? I'm talking about Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, those guys. I never heard a name Ton before today, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I don't know.
He's trying to put him out there as it started off as like a kind of benign artist group, or the Bohemians, or like, where do you sign up? What do you want to do today? I want to be a Bohemian. What's that? I'm an artist that just doesn't care. Where do you sign up for that? How much does it pay? Because it's like, I'm sure a lot of kids in high school are going like, huh?
I could do that.
I could do that. I could just be a sarcastic
Not
kid.
here.
Let's see what he says.
Originally, it
That'll
was
teach
a
him.
sort of new world mystery that was set up on purpose, not only for the artistic types, but to sort of embody the idea of mystery. I think there's sort of a natural inclination to have a secret enclave. I think there's a natural feeling for the elites, if you will, for others to want to be initiated into something special, But it does loom darkly over the country when there's world leaders doing rituals in secret without the knowledge of the public, things that the public aren't even supposed to know take place, right? So, I think in one sense, Bohemian Grove literally was just started as a natural retreat, just as people might go camping, go to certain camps, certain groups to revive the spirit.
This is when it gets crazy, when you hear a man, because I like this guy, and I like him and his wife do some really good work. And he goes like, not that I'm trying to defend the Bohemian Grove. It's like, well, that'd be good. Don't, because people aren't going to want to hear that, Do you have that kind of natural instinct to want to join a secret society or something?
Oh, you mean like participate in a Woodstock event or?
Not that. I mean, I think he's trying to sell that. Let's just listen to the last few seconds again, and some people just want to go out and camp.
Bohemian Grove literally was just started as a natural retreat, just as people might go camping, go to certain camps, certain groups to revive the spirit, to walk in nature, to talk to people outside of the busyness of everyday society. And I think they also want
They just want to go walk in nature, get away from the busyness of everyday society out there, fake berry people and you know, yeah,
What do you want on your tombstone, eh?
yeah, exactly. How about just some random
Jesus
spider weaving?
sausage.
Yeah,
wanted to
spider
emulate
weaving.
some of the ancient mysteries they knew about in their way in the new time. And I think in that sense, they started the cremation of care, not necessarily in a dark sense. I mean, I think they were trying to suggest the
Okay. That's just weird, this is to me is catching me off guard out of left field because he's about to say, not that I'm trying to defend these guys, but it does sound like it's like, dude, they're doing the cremation of care. They're burying symbolically people. They're burning people and they're like screaming on stage. I don't get it.
idea of regenerating, of unburdening yourself, of a sort of
Theatrical.
seasonal death and rebirth for people to go out there and let go of their woes. I think that part is legitimate enough.
Is,
Hold your
is
hand.
that a picture of somebody getting hung?
Appears.
All right. Well, I'm moving on. We got to cover what I wanted to cover. This was just something I just found waiting because it mentioned the Rosicrucian. Who cares about my algorithm? Tornadoes everywhere, I guess.
Worldwide, there's plenty of events, not just tornadoes and hail, but volcanoes popping off,
Right. Yeah.
earthquakes, and it's not all pure,
Yeah.
weather events.
But it's a lot of tornadoes. But we got to move on to this here.
Also,
This thing's crazy. These Zeiss lenses, and without one German product, the modern civilization would. This is what its finished product look at. Get a little history of this finished product.
nail it.
About microchips. They are the heart of cell phones, computers, cars. A chip is made up of transistors, tiny switches 10,000 times smaller than a human hair that control the flow of electrons through a circuit. Billions of transistors are packed into an area smaller than a fingernail. Microchips are one of humankind's most remarkable achievements. And it wouldn't be possible to make the world's most sophisticated chips without the
That's
German
how you put in
company
a computer
Zeiss.
chip.
In a
with some
previous
flathead
video, I talked
screwdrivers.
about how the Dutch firm
Done
ASML
and
is
done.
the only
Yeah.
company in the world that builds the machines that create the circuitry
Another
for the
one's
most
ready for them to
advanced
bite the
chips.
dust.
These machines wouldn't be able to operate without Zeiss mirrors.
Zeiss
inside of them.
mirrors. You
These
got
are
to
not
make
your
them.
average mirrors. They're a complex optical system that miniaturizes the structure of a chip printed on a silicon wafer.
Huh.
Light is projected through a blueprint of the pattern that will be printed. Zeiss optics focus the pattern
Wow.
onto the wafer, which has already been coated with a light-sensitive chemical. It shrinks the pattern down to the nanometer level. A nanometer is 1/billionth of a meter. In the end, the wafer is cut into small pieces of microchips.
That sounds
While
hard.
ASML's less advanced chip-making machines
Just
use
cut those
lenses
billions
to
of
focus
chips.
light, lenses won't work for its most
It's not
advanced
as easy as it appears, or what?
Yeah,
These machines
this looks
use
ridiculously
extreme
hard.
ultraviolet light, which lenses would absorb. Size of Germany, then the tallest mountain would be less than 1 millimeter high. Zeiss makes the flattest mirrors on Earth. They are held in a position as precisely as possible during the exposure process. They are so stable that if a Zeiss mirror were to redirect a laser beam and aim it at the moon, it would be able to hit a ping pong ball on its surface.
Bet.
ASML
Wow.
knows how crucial Zeiss is.
Yeah, it looks really good with animation.
Yeah.
Advantage in optics on the world stage. Yet it's not
Yeah, hit a
sitting
ping pong
comfortably.
ball.
Zeiss is
Trust
already
them.
working on next
It's like
generation
Annie
optics
Oakley.
by increasing
Shoot it
the
with a
numerical
shooting
Right
aspirin.
over.
The
Yeah,
numerical
shooting
aperture
aspirin
is
out
a
of the
measure
air.
of how much light the
Hey,
optical system
that's
can
a pretty
collect
big
and
door.
focus. The increase in the numerical aperture will significantly improve the resolution.
Anyway,
Improving the resolution will
we got
increase the
chips
number
in
of
Germany we
transistors.
can't live without, man. It's like looking in the mirror when we were little kids.
Palisade began their second spacewalk. While routing an Ethernet cable 44 minutes in, Luca felt something strange at the back of his head.
It's hard to tell, but it feels like a lot of water. Oh, I see. I see it now, wiggling.
Luca Parmitano reporting some water had built up behind his head inside of his helmet.
At first, Luca
I
thought
thought he's in outer space.
water
You're so
That vacuum should have sucked it right away. What
How
the
can you
fuck
be
is
so
that
droplets or
suspicious?
pools.
vacuum
That
thing?
sticks to your head like gel. There's basically no way to just wipe it away.
It's like looking in a
Where
mirror.
it's coming from. It can't be the water.
I'm sure that they.
Astronaut Chris Cassidy is referring to a bag that provides drinking water in the spacesuit through
You're
a
gonna
straw.
drown because of
Luca
that
drinks all of
pouch
the
of water
to
in
see
his
if it stops
helmet.
entering his helmet.
Bag is
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, the bag emptied out,
a liter.
and somehow it's gonna stick on my nose.
Karina Eversley, who was in charge of spacewalks, said, immediately, it made me think that's not normal. Her support team
It's
started
not
asking
normal.
Luca how much water was there.
Man, what are you gonna do? I'm at a normal school. You're supposed
So
to teach.
what's keeping him from drinking it?
Darn right, man. That's no danger. Just act like you're thirsty, dude. Drink it. That's a good one, RJ. I see a little cross in the background over that bottle of water over that guy's head. What's going on with that? Looks kind of suspicious.
There exactly.
More
Increasing.
suspicious.
Was he
Yeah.
sure it was water? The floating drops Luca drank
The
tasted
guys
like
are going like,
salt,
"Are you sure it's
metallic.
water?"
Right now, the flight control teams have the astronauts standing by while they continue to assess the situation.
As they waited for Houston to decide what to do, Luca and Chris snapped photos of each other in space. While taking pictures, Luca was acutely aware of how wet his communication headset had gotten, which could short out his microphone or earphones, jeopardizing his ability to communicate with Chris and mission control.
My head is really wet.
So much drama. I can't. You know what?
Yeah.
It's
We're
too
gonna
much.
start
It's too
chewing
much.
on a fingernail here.
Right. So basically, my position is this was filmed in that underwater pool wherever they have it in Florida or somewhere. It's fake as all get out because they're faking the moon landing. It's a flat Earth nation. Anyways, that's fun. So here's that machine that makes those flatten mirrors. Got to have these. Intel recently crowed about securing the world's first high numerical aperture lithography machine from the Dutch company ASML. I think they're a dangerous one we should watch. It's got them all. It bought them all.
You haven't been able to trust those people, the Dutch, in a long time.
So they got some new processors going to come out in a couple of years. Somehow this extreme ultraviolet lithography has gotten my attention. It's also known as EUV, cutting edge technology used in the super semiconductor industry for manufacturing integrated circuits. Type of photolithography that uses extreme ultraviolet. Whenever you see the word extreme, it means it's like think. Wow, it's like that's not just a cookie. That's a cookie with a chocolate chip the size of your mailbox, something like that. Later, ultraviolet light was used at first with a wavelength of 1 for each day, 365 nanometers. Remember, that's 1/1000th of a meter. Then the Excimer wavelengths, blah, blah, blah. This is a little harder than I thought it would be. Extreme ultraviolet lithography. I thought I'd just jump right into it and it'd be like, this is easy. I don't get it. So here's some pictures of it. It's just crazy. I should see what pictures I had saved. It seems like it's been a while since we talked to everybody. This is the stuff I saved. Maybe we'll run into it today. Yep, there's that Reformed Orthodox Order of the Golden Dawn. They might as well say
Well,
Rose.
can you scroll? That should be a question, right? He said, you know,
Oh,
isn't that the word?
that,
It's
I'll have to
Isn't
go
that a
back.
form of a question or not?
Sure is. I got to, but I think that's all they showed on that one clip. So this is when you look at a close up of a picture on the internet. I got this off of that video too. He thinks that ASML is a good thing to invest in, this guy, but they did show me that when you see a color in a picture, it actually has a number on it. That's weird. So this is zoomed in on this in just a few seconds. I got that one where it showed the numbers. That bricks, man, they're really serious about that software, because with this new software, it's going to, they're selling like the global games market, laptops, everything else is going away towards mobile games. See, mobile games where my mouse is. That's the future, RJ. PC games and everything else, they might hold steady for a while because people just like what they're locked into. But eventually, every one of the most advanced chips on earth is going to have one of these things, and it's going to fit inside you. No, you're not. No, you're not. These Zunies and these Hopi Indians, listen, man, I went there in 2019 and warned them that's not your land. And all of this yippity yappity doo dah dings baloney, like this is our land, it's been here forever. No, it's not.
This was in New Mexico?
Arizona. This is where I almost
Arizona.
moved, but there's no university there and it's not as safe as I wanted it to be. But this is on my bucket list. This is a secret place. I know where it is in this Grand Canyon
That's
photo.
nature shower there or what?
Yeah. This color is even deceptive because it's actually more green than that. Very weird, but I want to get my butt over there so I can see those rocks. Harm must be, 1, reasonably foreseeable. 2, there must be a relationship of proximity between the plaintiff and the defendant. And 3, it must be fair, just, and reasonable to impose liability. However, these act as guidelines for the courts in establishing a duty of care. Much of the principle is still at the discretion of judges. Ginger beer, the doctrine of privity. What is this? Biblical ordinance to, open quote, love thy neighbor, close quote, as a legal requirement to, open quote, not harm thy neighbor, close quote. He then went on to define neighbor as, open quote, persons who are closely and directly affected by my act, that I ought reasonably to have them in contemplation as being so affected when I am directing my mind to the acts or emissions that are called into question. RJ, do I have a good argument that the university here didn't treat me like a senior citizen who's 40% disabled and decided to throw my old tired butt in jail and let me spend all my money and rot away and then go away, and they would just walk?
I'm quite confident that and certain that they treated you like any other student on their campus, regardless of what uh, you know year or What will you call it?
Because I'm just another normal student to them at a normal
Well,
school.
yeah, you're in the
We'll
mix.
see. Because they love their peer review. Well, I'd like to get this whole case peer reviewed by not them and peers that don't work for a university that their number one goal is to put lesbians in charge, no matter if they're qualified or not. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if they're not qualified, they shouldn't get the job. But that's not what Adams University thinks. What is this? Where is the 10th edition? I was looking at this book. That's another thing that is super hard. But it did bring up the first use of race and race as a social contract. I took this picture from that flood video you showed me because they have a Statue of Liberty that got flooded too, man. What the heck's going on?
Well, it's supposed to be standing in the water or just out of the water.
It's on an island now, baby.
Yeah, so that should be normal.
Just another rare picture of that Grand River, which is the Colorado River diversion dam. They used to call it the Grand River. So, and again, so this is a rare look at the base of it. And they did add this pipe to keep the river. So very rare. Is that just foundation of the, I don't know.
They had some extra concrete and they just dumped it there when they
Yeah, that's rebar right there. So looks like rebar.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Ciao. I used to live right back here by these trees on a cul-de-sac in this town. I used to go visit. You could still see the foundations of the migratory labor camp. I kept looking so hard for this one picture. I know that Palisade has a historical booklet of their founding that shows that Palisade, Colorado was the first place in the United States to use pesticides. But I can't find that picture. I will find it. These are the sand dunes by my valley. White Gold is the name of this video that we might look at later. White gold is, you know what? Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes. It saved the economy of the Colorado when they fluctuated the stock market and crashed the price of silver. And it was really getting into the irrigation of how, a place, Palisade, the Grand Valley, gets only 10 inches of rain a year, but they're right there by the top of the Colorado River, so they got all kinds of water. That's why I meant to say sugar beets, not sugar potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Okay, yeah, that makes
it's sugar beets.
Because they're both, it's a root crop. And
and so they built these factories. I think you could order them online and they would send a whole factory with centrifuges, because the sugar beet is between 13 and 15% sucrose. That's a lot, but it takes a lot of processing to get it out. So you had to buy these whole factories and ship them out there in the 1800s or 1900s. And you just need 6 or 7. They're not sure, but if you get a bunch of them up and running, you can process the sugar beet. I used to drive past this. I lived in Grand Junction. Cracker Jack plant. That's where you buy it. That's what they said. You just buy these Cracker Jack plants jam packed with these newfangled gimmicks. You set it up.
So then there's a prize hidden in there somewhere, or what?
Sugar beet.
Oh, Cracker Jack. You always had a prize.
Yeah, you could get one of those little decoder rings or something. If you're lucky, you might just get or if you're unlucky, you'll get one of those temporary tattoos. Sugar reflection of the populist movement at the time. Well, we're having a little trouble with Cuba, their sugar refining thing, and now the Sugar Trust is making all the money. I don't understand what they have, cigarettes or something. Have you been spending money for negotiations, open quote, within the period of 2 years and from and after the passage of this act, close quote, question mark. So they had the American tariff laws. They were really into making money. Who is this guy? Is that FDR? Not FDR. Teddy Roosevelt, old Rough Rider.
What's that, like a bamboo cane on that closest sugar beet dude?
Yeah, it does look like well, you know, that might be a cane sugar branch too, because cane sugar was their competition in Cuba. But then when they found out they could get sugar from the sugar beets, we don't need you, Cuba. See, this guy here is sucking on the nipple of the tariff law. Savvy investors,
Sugar
you know,
trust, yeah.
Colorado doesn't need silver and gold. We can just put that on the back burner by adjusting. Honest to goodness, they had stock markets and stock market crashes.
So the scales being tipped here, huh?
Yeah, because of the weight of the 209 tariff law. The Dutch standard sugar trust is feeding off of it. Sugar helped in war. Sugar now plays its part in peace. Keep sharing it. Boy, there's some bad advice. Anyway, you know, it all goes back, you know, to what they believe, you know. Rome, you can believe that there is a God in heaven. He gave us the Bible, or you can believe that new ABCs, anything but Christ. And it ends up with like, well, here's the communists and the Democrats, capitalists, and they're supposed to be raised by a wolf, you know. Homo sapiens in the Rome area going back 14,000 years, or 140,000 years, were the Neanderthals. It's all bullshit, RJ. Why do they even
pretty deep, quite quick?
Right. It's always that question when they ask you to find X. Don't point at the X and go, there it is. Like on that one, if it's a 3 and a 4 and it shows a right angle in the triangle, always tell them it's 5. X is 5, and then they'll think that you know what's going on. Humphrey Bogart's character Rick Blaine never says played against Sam in the 1942 movie Casablanca. You know how come those people do the?
He says play it again, Slim.
No, he says play it, Sam. He says play it, Sam. You played it for her. You can play it for me. I've seen the movie like 4 times. So I know what he says, but that's my middle name. Did you know my real middle name is Blaine?
Yeah.
And there's something else going on here. Oh, the reason that they think that he said play it again, Sam, was because there was this famous impersonator named Rich Little. And if he would have said, you played it for her, Sam, play it for me, he would have had to pay a copyright fee because that movie was still in the copyright thing. So that, yeah, he couldn't quote the movie exactly, but he was on Johnny Carson everywhere, and everybody knew Rich Little.
Yeah.
So you sent me something, and I had already had these other things pulled out. Remember that we weren't supposed to find that video you sent me?
Mm-hmm.
There's like a torpedo or something.
Yeah,
well, this is
washed up on the beach.
Yep. This thing washed up in the woods or something. And it looks like it's like, oh, it's SpaceX wreckage. It looks like a balloon attachment to me. Of course, I don't really know what a balloon attachment is, but it looks like it would hook onto something like that.
Good. For the umbrella?
Yeah, that's where the gondola for the, that's the tide machine.
Yeah, for the how they hanging, yeah. Or how high they're hanging. Rainbow effect, okay.
I want to get into this later. Like, what are we have a lot of responsibility. I feel it, but describing it of saying, like, to tell people, you're responsible to do this or that or the other thing, it's going to come off as like, well, who do you think you are? Hey, old timer, back off, boy. And some of those guys that'd be like, well, okay, big fella, I'm backing off. What are we responsible for? Righteous acts? Exodus 3, none of their righteous acts will be remembered, and I will hold you responsible for their deaths. Do people understand, this isn't exactly fun for me, but I feel like I would be negligent. What is with our conscience, RJ? I mean, we can't
Well,
decide.
some claim, yeah, they don't have one. I don't know if that's true, but I know I've heard that claim.
Right. And I think our government or the people in charge, the mafias, ladies and gentlemen, we're the remnants of a country where everybody, your grandparents were in the Freemasons or something like that. They all had a death oath that they couldn't tell us the truth. Yet we don't want to leave their religion or their trinity because, well, that would mean they're the bad guys. Maybe they're not the bad, evil, but they could have been tricked, RJ. Our parents could have been tricked.
This reminds me of a sermon that I heard earlier this morning online. And it's from, he took what he was, and it was a pretty good sermon, I thought, from 2 Kings. He didn't say what verse it was, and I just thought, and it's 31. It's verse 31 of 2 Kings chapter 10. And then his question is, are we being careful? As well, certainly as professed, Christians, and then as far as getting the word of what this this text, this verse.
Give me that chapter again, RJ. 2 Kings what?
Chapter 10.
Is that in the Old Testament?
It should be.
Okay, go ahead, brother. Read it.
31, verse 31. And it's self-explanatory. And then he puts it to the question, as
I almost wanted to add, like, I'm sure there are people out there that go like, oh, I've just repented so many times, God's probably mad at me. Well, maybe, but what about that guy Manasseh? And, he would backslide and go back to the Lord, backslide, go back to the Lord, backslide, go back to the Lord. And it didn't seem like the Lord ever got tired of him coming back to him. I mean, he reaped what he sowed, but now, Yehu, he seems like he was hanging out with the right people. Something's going on. Go ahead, RJ. Read this whole. Read what you got to read.
Yet Yehu was not careful to follow the instructions of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He did not turn away from the sins that Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. In those days, the Lord began to reduce the size of Israel. Hazael defeated the Israelites throughout their territory, from the Jordan eastward through all the land of Gilead, the region of Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh, and from the Aror by the Arnon Valley through Gilead to Bashan. But anyhow, it was about being careful, staying with the law of God, or, the word of God.
Right. I'm not sure if it was Asa or not, but one of the kings, was like, he's classified, among the good, the 5 good kings of Judah, I think. But it was like, nevertheless, he didn't serve the Lord with his whole heart. And when he was older, he sought help from the physicians instead of the Lord. That I could be conflating him with another king, but I know that sentiment was true there. Yeah, be careful.
Yeah.
We have responsibility, especially if our hearts have been changed and the word is clear to us that, wow, all that choose to live righteously in Christ Jesus are going to have to answer to the world of, like, why do you think we're going to hell? What makes you so special? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, be careful.
What's gross negligence is the lack of slight diligence or care. So I feel our government and the people in charge and the people here at the university and the people that are some of your bosses and stuff, they're in gross negligence and they don't care. They're still
Guilty.
telling you work for your retirement, knowing that there's no way that there's going to be a retirement for them if they're 40 years old right now. Nobody's pretending that there's still going to be Social Security for those people in 25 years. But
Well, they shouldn't need it if they're
through
40.
gross negligence, they think, well, I've just got to keep working, or I won't have a cell phone with a polished mirror by Zeiss.
The fact of the matter is, if you're 40, add, 25 years to it, 65,
Yeah, you're right at our age. We have 25 years experience of realizing that a responsible person, where are these people? A reasonable person.
I mean, it isn't like you're planning to, to be raptured or anything, but
Or
something might
they
happen. Something might
Right.
happen in another, less
there
than 25
it
years.
comes a time when you have to realize they've been lying to you all your life. Look, we're not going to get into the Tania Solon tonight, but I just want you to know there are things living in you that you just, it'd blow your mind. It'd blow your mind. What's this? Oh, these are images of Palisade.
Yeah.
I was looking so hard for that one picture that's going to prove that they were the first person to use pesticides, and that's where pink eye, conjunctivitis, do they call that?
That's ringworm of the eye, pink eye.
Yeah, that was caused by, that was one of the after effects, but I couldn't find it. I'll find it. Palisade, not really a lot there, but Route 6 goes through it. It goes through my old town of, where we live near Morris, Illinois. Route 6 goes through there too. Also goes through Grand Junction. Route 70 is there. And I think it was a Starfort city. There's a lot of stuff underground, a lot of mystery there. I did not seem like there was only 2,000 people, between 2,000 and 3,000 people when I was there, because it's close to Clifton and Grand Junction. They all kind of run together. That's when I was into buying storage lockers. The diversion dam is there, coal mining, again, the sugar beet, the peaches, the first pesticides, mail order. My goodness, do they have some comprehensive meetings of the Grand Valley Water Users Association from October 1904 through January 1909. I've read down to like 2007. They're just passing out warrants saying that we're going to get a penny for every acre and then 5 cents for every acre. It's just strictly business. I don't know why they would need 2,000 copies, for a contract and agreement of an approved form of trust. Everything was always about making money for the people in charge off of keeping the water running. It's crazy, RJ.
Yeah, I'm reading some of these comments.
So these stereotypes have endured.
Let's see if we can't read any more of that. Where was I?
Foundation of scientific racism. He brings in moral character. So the American is red and choleric and stands up straight. The European, white, sanguine, and muscular. The Asian, sallow, melancholic, and stiff. And finally, the African, black, phlegmatic, and lazy. So these
And
stereotypes have endured
if you
through
go
the
back
ages.
on those words, I am having the worst
If
Wi-Fi.
you're going to take a group of people,
Yeah, there's some strange stuff going on.
And anyway, I could have caught it on that one spot to go over the, it didn't just call the blacks lazy. Some of those other Latin words I looked up, it slammed them really a lot worse than just being phlegmatic, like coughing up. Just
specificity in terms of gender or race or class or ableism. So the law then is really useful in protecting people who are discriminated against in multiple ways, and in also forcing people to make
see the very beginning of race and racism goes back to the Enlightenment, when the people like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, all of the Kantian version of social contract. I'm sure why didn't they mention David Hume or some of the other, but they got Socrates in there. It's everything but the Bible. They brought the mind back to Rome on purpose and just deal with it. That's how. There's no going back. Does anybody think that we're going to win this culture war? I wish we could. Charles Betner, he was the guy that really basically somehow hardware, mining, cement, sugar beet business. He's the guy that said, hey, there's a company selling those great big kits with the 6 or 7 coreless steam engines where you can just buy a whole factory. Let's do it, because somebody from the Kingdom of Prussia came to the United States at age 17 and thankfully was there to say, we need to get one of those kits to start processing sugar beets because silver market's going to crash. It still will be good in the future, and RJ will be glad he has some. But sugar beets are going to be the only thing we care about.
Yeah, for a while.
Yep.
That will change also, but
whenever they manipulate the stock market for that federal thing. So it all comes down to, hate to remind you that it was decided the United States is worse than South Africa, that we blamed the blacks for everything, but when it came down to it, dang, we really did hold them down and treat them bad. So moving on, that's the tide machine. Don't forget how recently everything happened. Lord Kelvin, the more I read back about this guy, it's just another one of the cardboard prop ups that they give him all the credit for temperature, Kelvin, what is absolute zero? Because they have to give these, assigned them so that there is some sort of a history that, the electrical telegraph.
More
Well,
of a hysterectomy.
look where this guy lived. They're talking about electrical telegraph. They're talking about a fax machine. This guy died in 1895, everyone. We don't know what the country is like, what the world was like, but we do know that the people that they're going to put up are going to be going to these things, all the white power. They're going to be, involved.
The people they put up are going to be famous for whatever they get assigned.
Right. Yeah. And they're all going to be recognized by the queen of Elizabeth, the number 2, you know,
Good
to,
night.
to give them the credibility. And they all studied, you know, at age 22 at this place, the meander of the River Kelvin, because they named it after him,
Well,
containing
I thought
the.
that was a Bohemian Grove.
Might as well be.
Weren't they camping out there along the shoreline? Or
Yeah, but these guys, they're not pretending to be poets out there going like, I write poetry and you suck. Check this out. Gilmore campus of the University of Glasgow, designed by this Yahoo, to which the university moved in 1970. Well, sure, let's just take this over and say we lived here forever. Lord Kelvin, it's going to come up in the future. Vis viva, Latin for the living force, is an historical term. Just shifting gears here, we're getting faster now. It's used as a term to quantity similar to kinetic energy in an early formulation of the principle of conservation of energy. Vis viva, this guy Leibniz, he's another one of the
farce. What?
Huh?
You said it was a living farce?
Living farce. Farce.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, in case you didn't, you know, they didn't mention Rene Descartes with or Isaac Newton and the other one about where I could point out that this is just a capitalism, communism, democracy, Republican argument set up by the bad guys to make us think as Christians we should believe in the Trinity and not question what they teach us about the Bible, because it's more important that I was born in a capitalist country and capitalism rules, those communists are dumbasses.
Sure.
Vis viva, kinetic energy, elastic.
Well, that's more of a patriotism, regardless, you know.
Right, but they're scientists. It's a big deal to them. Sometimes they call it Elon Vital.
Because you can.
Can what?
To the cause, because you can.
Call it whatever you want. During his book Creative Evolution, this guy called it Elon Vital. Vis viva sounded too not good. But this is the self-organization. It's the study of. He addresses the question, how come some cells grow into toes and other cells grow into eyeballs? It seems like Elon Vital answers all the questions of self-organization, spontaneous morphogenesis of things in an incredibly complex matter, because allegedly we're fearfully and wonderfully made. So they got this vital force thing.
You know, that goes back, you know, the whole, not the argument, would be the obviousness that everything can't be what you think is the most important. the eye, the ear, you know.
Oh
the,
yeah.
You know how, you know, the whole thing about, you know, when one part of the body is an ailment, the entire body suffers, you know.
You're just saying that because it's
paraphrasing, but
yeah.
You know, it's beyond just a community, you know. It's a single body, but all the parts, they all have you know, as far as the function, you know, the organs, you know, everything, even what you're hosting, it's a synergetic, you know, synergy, good for them, good for yourself, you know. But
exactly.
You need to take care of the temple, right?
We're looking for synchronism in our body, not parasitism, and we can achieve that. Is what he's
government is becoming like a parasite. Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
The living thing here. Now, I don't want people to get hung up on the fact that our Bible actually does seem to imply that the part of the body that will be associated with in Jesus is the eyeball. Now, our goal is to not be proud of that and be like, because that does seem to me be like the best, I could easily be going into, I'm glad I'm not an ear or a nose. I want to be the eye, and we are. But we didn't plan that. We didn't do it. We just got born again and we're all doing good. What a good crowd here tonight. Bunch of salt of the earth type people.
Yeah, there's some good comments about
I know.
some of that stuff that I had sent you about the Northern Lights or the Aurora Borealis, that and it's supposed to happen again
Tonight.
early Sunday morning between 2 and 4 a.m. I guess, depending on where you're at and what your clock is set to as far as a time zone. But
Right. Get up, go out and see it. You know what? Actually, I really enjoyed just looking at the video footage because it was cloudy here in Alamo.
well, that's just it.
Yeah. But it's
can't-
weird. It's weird. The red and green ones are the best.
Well, it's all good.
So anyway, this goes back to found in the work of the pre-Christian Stoics, and that's who, you can't get any more clear. In Acts chapter 17, Paul's there like, I've got an argument here to destroy you Stoics. And he even goes, how come he said he wants to destroy the Stoics? Because he said, these Stoics are crazy. They talk about the Stoics and Epicureanism, was the world. Paul was in a star fort talking to these people.
Yeah, maybe even let down in a basket. Who knows?
Oh no, I know that we just have to do this for a second. Early left anterior negativity. So that Elon, we looked at that Elon force, what they call it. Now they've got it in the.
Not Elon Musk.
No, that's ELON, I think. Sentence processing. They have it all the way down to this early left anterior negativity of where they can say phrase structure rules as in ampersand or the in room instead of in the room. As such, it is frequently a topic of study in neurolinguistics, started in the 1970s, experiments, specifically in areas as sentence processing. While it is frequently used in language research, there is no evidence yet that it is necessarily a language specific phenomenon. And yet they will continue to treat it like that, as if it really is probably the most important thing in the world that they are studying. And they're looking at, remember the nanometers, nanoseconds now, between 100 and 300 milliseconds after the onset of a grammatically incorrect stimulus. That's why some people don't like me, RJ, is I don't speak right. I don't have the right early left anterior negativity when I go to pronounce my words, but somehow they're thinking Elon has been reported, although if you go back up here, it's not really in these languages. So anyway, they think they can really understand us. And it's not the only one of time locked EEG signals known as event related potentials, all from that 400 milliseconds of I don't like the way Paco talks, because they're ambiguous. Sentence comprehension has to do with ambiguity, which is why it took us so long to get people to, bang them on the head. This book was written to people who were afraid the beast and the Antichrist was going to kill them. It wasn't written to you in Decatur, Illinois today, who's got a job at a factory and is glad to have it. It's a book written to them. That was hard to get about. It was ambiguous. No, it's written to me. And when all of these things, and there's a country in Israel that God brought back, so let's focus on that. It's the end times, and Jesus is about to return now. There's a lot. It was ambiguity. Well, they added 1,000 years, says you. Yeah, kind of, says me, but here's my argument. Processing sentences, enough of that. I just can't get over how much they've diagnosed your brain, and that's your neural pathways. It kind of looks like a mohawk. There's your corpus callosum, a lot of nerves floating in that goo. Where would your pineal gland be? Right in here. It's the only place that's, well, I don't want to get into how weird it is, but they think they got it all figured out. They don't need our God to make it work. Muskingum University. This is that part in the video where it's going like, this is boring. No, it's not. It could be, but it's not. Their national road, now US 40, laid through a nuclear Concord roadway known as Zane's Thrace, established by the Scottish Presbyterians in 1836. Baloney. All those buildings were there. The road was there. It was called the Great War Path or the Indian Trading Path, and now it's called US Route 40. It's the same buildings, everyone. But this will have to come up again too. John Glenn went to school here. A lot of people went to school here. Now it's a part of the Ivy League Brown Chapel, I think, multi-purpose, whatever it is. This John Knox Montgomery, the president, unofficial father of it. I honestly am just getting my toes wet in whatever we got with Muskingum University. Zane's Thrace, they mentioned that there. Former frontier road constructed under the direction of Colonel Ebenezer Zane. I'm calling BS on everything they tell me. And that this was a Native American road. The capital was there. America didn't come in and go, you guys aren't using it right. So here, have some smallpox and we're going to build some buildings and form a country where the International Monetary Fund is going to be running out of money. Federal roads, national roads, it's a lie. This was what they call the Great War Path, and all our roads are built on what they call the Indian trails. So just stop it. That bridge was there too. This is mechanical.
Pushing on towards 60 minutes. I was going to comment on what you were talking about. Now, that's more pertaining to English, but you did mention languages, and I know, like, I may be wrong, but I think sign language is, well, for the deaf, obviously, and it's based on it's universal, and because it's universal, it doesn't necessarily flow with how English sentences are. Where certain languages kind of speak kind of backwards.
Mm-hmm.
As far as
in Espanol,
where the subject is first rather than building up, and then when it comes to communicating, as long as it's done effectively, I'm sure there are critics that are more than willing to whether you call it splitting hairs or as far as what is grammatically, copacetic. So I was just pitching that out.
Well, it brings up a good point that I wanted to address and kind of forgot. My oldest daughter, Rachel Marie, was her interest was in language, but she studied speech audio pathology, and they have a whole different phonetic speaking alphabet and everything. I mean, they really get into processing, and it's like to help communicate with people with autism or just anything, but
primarily with English, or not
Well,
necessarily.
yeah, she deals with English. She got her
Yeah.
master's from Marquette University. That was a big mistake of me thinking, well, it's such an honor that, because they only accept 25 people into their speech audio pathology class a year, and 13 of them come from Marquette. So the other 12 have to come at random from the other universities around the United States. And we were just like shocked. It's like, wow, she's accepted there. Jesuit school. Well, she'll be okay. She probably is, but she'd make a lot of money. But she's a Christian feminist now, so who knows what they elected her electives got her somehow. Let's go. Yep, we're gonna get this is gonna get exciting here really quick though, because who really? This is probably one of the things that people have to realize, that this is an illustration, a lie, of the first macadamized road in the United States between Daniel Boonesboro and Hagerstown in Maryland, 1823. You see, all the roads that they built in America, like the Roman roads that are still there and they have to explain away, these men, he's holding a loop so that he can pass a stone through it, can't weigh more than 6 ounces and fit through that hoop. And then you got to lay it down, and these 3 guys here will pack it down, and then they'll make all the roads in America, because macadamized roads were a thing. It's so much a lie. Everything's
Obviously.
a lie. I just can't. Did I mention the siphon recorder? Because I wanted to emphasize that the dashes and, the dots and dashes that they read, that it actually never touched the paper. I wanted to just make sure that they knew that a light coil of wire is suspended between the poles of a permanent magnet so it can turn freely. The coil is attached via 2 wire linkages to the metal plate siphon support, which pivots on a horizontal suspension thread. From this plate, a narrow glass siphon tube hangs down vertically with its end almost touching the paper tape. The paper tape is pulled by a motorized roller at a constant speed under the siphon pin where it's almost touching the paper. The ink is drawn up from this tube of ink by siphon action. It comes out a tiny orifice at the end and they were using this as their fax machines in 1867. Thank you, Lord Kelvin Byron Kelvin.
Well, it's like a ticker tape. It's just
a ticker tape parade of wonderfulness. Where'd they find that machine, RJ? Just in 1867. Well, I'm tired of working with this breech
fire
loading.
Up the air compressor and blow the dust off.
Yeah, it takes me 30 seconds to load a bullet into my gun, but I got this siphon thing that can print overseas. It's amazing. It's a wireless
television. Through the radio waves?
It was a brave new world in the 1860s, man. Who is these guys?
Of so-called Arianism. As we said, the debate at this time, and which was had at the council, was essentially one about the nature of the divine and the nature of the Trinity, particularly what is the relationship between the Son and the Father. So the Son as in Jesus Christ and God the Father. What is the nature of their relationship? And already we should dispel some common misconceptions about this. Arians did not believe that Jesus was simply a human being, similar to what Muslims believe, that Jesus was just a human prophet or something like that. That was not what this debate was about. Everyone involved agreed that Jesus was divine. What is the nature of their relationship? And already we should dispel some common misconceptions about this.
Why did it go backwards?
Arians did
Because
not
you rebooted, mine always does that. That's
just
common.
to be a human being,
Something that's been, yeah,
similar to what Muslims believe.
that's normal.
Human
Okay.
prophet or something like that. That was not what this debate
Sorry,
was about.
everyone. We have to hear it
Everyone
twice.
involved agreed that Jesus was divine. that
The
Jesus
next part was
God in
important.
some way. But the question was, in what way was he God? Or rather, if he's divine, how is he divine in relationship to the Father, to God the Father? We might be able to perhaps compare this to another early debate or I should say, a debate in early Islam, in Islamic theology, about the nature of the Quran. So there was this famous debate between the Mu'tazila, which is a sort of theological school, an early theological school in Islam, and what is very broadly sometimes referred to as the.
I got to get into the Council of Nicaea and their arguments about the Trinity, tying in everything we've learned, that the fact that they're, Muhammad, which is another term for Jesus Christ, the chosen one, and that there really is no proof of any Islamic religion at all, no proof of a Mecca on any map or Medina or any of that stuff, and that the majority, or at least a good percentage of what they call the Quran, was actually a Christian hymnal from true Christians who didn't believe in the Trinity. And when all of Asia departed Paul, they went with the Ishtar thing of the Virgin Mary represents the woman, the son represents her offspring with her dismemberment of the body and everything else. It's all a joke. There never was a Muslim religion. They popped them up so that they could prop up the fake Jews, because we all know there are no Jews today that can trace their lineage back to, I'm related to Aaron and here's the proof. Because of all of the, well, are they the 13th tribe? Are they Ashkenazi? There are too many questions. But we should know it's all fake. It was set up so that they could say, well, only Muslims believe that there is no Trinity. Roman Catholics proved it, and they were ready to kill you if you didn't believe in the Trinity.
Did it matter if you're, hopefully you'll be adopted? So what does that matter?
Right. Well, and that's going to open up the whole other can of worms, that now that we've lost the culture war, they're going to be sitting around getting more and more aggressive, going things like, so you're telling me I'm going to hell? No, the Bible's saying you may go to hell. There's still a chance that you could be born again. God could change your heart and you could be adopted into the family of Christ. So you're saying my mom's in hell, huh? Because she's dead and she never accepted Christ. You say my mom's in hell? Let's talk about your soul. They're not going to want to hear it. They are not going to sit around, going like, so we can be as correct as we want. Abortion is murder. It stops a beating heart. The wide road does not care. To them, it's like, you're talking about a constitutional right. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and that's nothing new. I mean, but you're describing hasn't just happened this morning at overnight. No, this has been our entire lives that we've been around, and we're not the oldest and we're not by any means young, but yeah, when it comes to debating, and when 73,
something,
in the Supreme Court,
the Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
Apparently, RJ, apparently this is the scream that doomed Howard Dean. He was going to be elected, winning the Democrat vote. Could have got George Bush out of being the president. But this
What year was this?
2004.
Really?
If you had told us 1 year ago that we were going to come in third in Iowa, we would have given anything for that. And you know something? You know something? Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
Doomed him. That's what they say. That's their version of the history. There's other people that would say that if this happened in the elections today, that's a nothing. But in 2004, the Democrats said, oh, he's going to take the White House, yeehaw. Well, he's not emotionally stable. Do you really want Howard Dean in control of the nuclear weapons? That was their argument. And so Walter Mondale ended up winning. Did that seem horrendously like, wow, this guy's going to, if he gets elected, he's going to nuke Russia? So it's just something to think about. I had this pulled up, hyper-objecting Vatican II. What are you talking about?
Massive thing, right? A hyper object that makes itself known, whether you move left or right, up or down, inside or outside. And he uses as the example to talk of a hyper object as global warming, right? Or oil, or even evolution, right? It's just this massive thing, right? A hyper object
or a globe
that, is very
difficult. Why not? Yeah,
exactly.
You're going to use your imagination. There are no bounds.
Water can stick on this globe.
Say, you can't touch a hyper object. You can't really.
Liquid.
Know it exists, and I know I'm somehow part of it. It has some sort of profound effect upon me, and that on some level I should care about it. And the this realm, not and it just seems to me that theologians and even sociologists are just ill-equipped to deal with this massive thing that they're trying to ride. It almost has a kind of mind of its own.
I think it's I think we're the mouth of two or three witnesses. If we can agree they're talking about cognitive dissonance of the lies that the world has told us, we can move on. Is that what you think they're talking about?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, they're generalizing.
Yeah. Two smart guys saying that when you think about the world, you're going to be, what's the word, gobsmacked. You're going to be sitting there going like, I need a minute or something, right? Well, massive hyper objects.
And that gets into a lot of where I have limited time for, I click into something that's allegedly Christian, and they're talking about, outer space and the
gravity.
Well, that and then
they're basing this whole thing on the massive objects.
The galaxy stuff. It's just I can only take so much,
which is not very much. Is
not much at all.
Exactly.
Once they expose themselves, click. I'm out.
They had their Copernican revolution, their human world gap, their post-Kantian anthropomorphism of man-centeredness. That's the world we live in. That's the world they're happy with. We're on a different road. We're looking for people who are striving to enter. Now, their intentions and this new stuff of their hyper objects, it goes back to 2010. Come on, get to the end of this thing here. 21st century, that's when we live now. Heidegger influence, school of thought, from 2010. They've got it all figured out now. 2009, my mistake. I think it got popular in 2010. There's me making excuses for myself. We're moving on.
Well, yeah, sometimes it takes a calendar year for
Also the surrounding
concepts to be
seabed, which was once the home of an advanced ancient
accepted.
civilization before the end of the last ice age.
We got some weird stuff all over the world. That's all I'm trying to say. And
for current stars. Oh, look, we have the Toronto skyline. That's right. Canada's GDP, their gross domestic product, has been shrinking at the worst rate for any developed country in the top 50. 50. Understand this. This is a country that per capita pumped in more cash than the United States did, vastly outnumbering any other country in terms of the amount of money that they jacked in. I didn't get any. I don't know who did, but I hope it was the people that actually needed it. I have a feeling, though, most of it squandered.
I have a feeling his feeling is correct that the people that actually need it didn't get the money.
Yeah, speculating. That's probably, yeah.
A couple more tabs and we'll be done, RJ. But if they hope they have their pens and pencils, the Ringe, Reinge Dam. Hey, look, RJ, look what that dam is holding back. Dirt. Because that's supposed to be a lake, right? But this is the dam part of it. See, a little water.
That damn thing.
That damn thing isn't working. Well, it kind of got, looks like it's been there a while, huh? Like backing up.
Well, what's that section in between?
Well, that's just yeah, that's just a natural part of. They didn't need to build that part of the dam; it was already there.
That was handy.
Yeah, we got to get to the. We got to get. I know that we're asking a lot of these people to stay focused with us for this long, but there's the spillway. It's broken, but still dripping some water out. You can see this hasn't been able. Nobody's been able to visit here since 2014. But they're going to blow it up.
Oh, it's been abandoned?
Yep. It's in Malibu Canyon. It's right there in Hollywood Hills. It was the first dam built there in Southern California. It's located in the Malibu Creek State Park. The dam was built by Mary Knight Ringe. She was the person that was the queen of Malibu, founding mother of Malibu, L.A., Los Angeles is what they call L.A. First high-profile feminist environmentalist, and now this is going to ruin. It has ruined Malibu, and they're going to have to take it down and fix it. She killed all the rainbow trout that used to go up there. It's that unintended consequence thing, RJ.
Another one, huh?
The dual walls, as you noticed, were built into an already existing rock monolith in the center of Malibu Creek. People probably heard about Malibu. It's finished in 1926. 600 acres behind the dam have been completely filled in with sediment since around, they don't know, RJ, but they think it's circa 1950. That can be pretty vague when they know what.
So the purpose wasn't for like generating electricity, or it wasn't a hydroelectric facility. It was,
I don't know,
just for runoff control, or who knows?
Shoot, I don't know
if there's a purpose, but
Maybe it'll tell it.
That piece in the center looks suspicious.
Yeah, it's natural dam. It helped them out. So anyway, they're going to be happy when it does. The U.S. House of Representatives said you got to get rid of that dam in 1992, but they're just not doing it. Could be too close to the throne of Satan, as far as I know. But in 2018, they're still dragging their feet. They're going to get to it. They're going to take it down. It has 600,000, metric tons cubed. So it's a lot of stuff going on. Something's going on here, but I'm suspicious as all get out of the ring dam. I'm going to look into it some more.
Well, then it's how contaminated is the sludge on the backside of that dam sediment. Is the other. Well, maybe people wouldn't question that, but
they're good. Here's what their
it's
plan is on that. I do know, RJ. They're going to dig that sediment out and take it to the beaches of Malibu and just dump it on the ocean and let it spread out so that it'll help.
Well, that other dam, they were just high-hoeing it out and putting it right into the stream flow.
Darn right.
Free
use of a video of the music I used to say in the 1980s in Bible college. When are we going to get all this stuff they kept talking about in the 60s in the Bugs Bunny commercial?
Yeah,
I don't own the rights to this. I'm not making it's a fair use. Daniel Amos.
I thought by now I'd walk the moon and ride a car without no tires and have a robot run the vacuum and date a girl made out of wires. No, things don't change that much, do they? We are still out of touch. By now we should discover just how to love each other. Like last year's Robot Man, your looks have killed again. I thought by now we'd live in space and eat a pill instead of dinner and wear a gas mask on our face, a president of female gender. The progress marches on, new day. Our troubles still grow strong, and my expectancies become my fantasies. You turn my blood to sand, the earth stands still again. My hopes are running low, things moving much too slowly. There's no space in up above, we're still far from love, so very far from love. I thought by now we'd build a dome around the world, control the weather. In every house a picture phone, communicate a little better. But some things never change, replay. You're still acting strange. No way that I can see, this way we will be free. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, lift off. I thought by now I'd walk out.
Imagination equals entertainment.
And have a robot run the vacuum and date a girl made out of wires. I thought by now we live in a space.
What is love? What can we tell the people when they ask us what is love? Love your neighbor. Is loving your neighbor giving them everything they ask you for? Is loving them saying, I will never slap your hand when you're reaching for a hot stove? What is love?
Communicate a little better.
It's an
I
attitude.
do also think it has evolved into something much darker, and which does, impact world leadership and the secret doings of leaders. I think both of
You're
those
not sharing here, but
And I
Oh.
mean, maybe it's worth at least suggesting that with the sacrifice
I was
of
sharing
prayer
in my
and the
mind.
tutelary deity of the owl, maybe it started a little more cartoonishly, as some of these drawings would
Oh, the
suggest.
owl.
Evolved into something
Who
darker.
are
where
you?
people say
Who,
it's
me?
named Moloch, and it's
Hmm?
dark fire and brimstone, smoke, kind of somber event. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been there. I've seen the same kind of footage everyone's seen of it. Anyway, it's interesting just because someone told me it was a nematone, and the case is there for that being the case. I mean, yeah, naturally, going on to nature is a retreat of sorts. So Bohemian Grove.
I love that. The case is there for being the case. And RJ, if somebody wants to think that we're just doing this because we think it's fun, this is a warning, ladies and gentlemen. The Bible is true. Every word that Jesus Christ said in Scripture is absolute truth. Anything you want to add, brother, before we wrap it up?
Well, be careful.
Because you're going to be responsible somehow. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. And we're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We know we've been called and chosen. We're trying to be faithful to have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.